Get this one word right, and you sound authoritative. Get it wrong in a meeting, and people notice. The word is liability. By the end of this video, you'll use it like a native speaker. We're going to look at 3 specific contexts in which the word is often used: finance, insurance, and law, and then how to use it in a broad context. Liability. First, pronunciation. It has 5 syllables. The stress lands on the 3rd syllable. Liability. Say it with me. Liability. Now the definition. This word does 2 jobs. 1. It's the state of being legally responsible for something, usually the duty to pay a cost, a debt, or damages when things go wrong. And 2, more broadly, any person or thing that becomes a burden or a risk. It's a noun. There's also an adjective form, liable, as in, you will be liable. Let's go to case file 1, finance. Picture early 19th century Britain. You invest in a company, the company collapses, and its debts follow you home. Creditors can take almost everything you own. Disaster. The sentence example reads, before Britain's Limited Liability Act of 1855, the shareholders of a failed company could be held personally responsible for all its debts. Their liability had no limit. Let's break that down. First, the company fails. Then, the shareholders must personally cover its debts. That personal duty to pay, that's the liability. In 1855, Britain finally capped it or set a limit, which is exactly where the phrase limited liability comes from. No more losing your house because a company you invested in went down. 40 years of teaching experience packed into videos like this one. Want your shortcut to professional English? Subscribe, tap the bell, and select all, so you never miss a word. Let's go to case file 2, insurance. September 1666. The Great Fire of London reduces over 13,000 houses, 90% of the city, to ash. Out of the smoke, an entire industry is about to be born. The sentence example reads, after the Great Fire of 1666, Nicholas Barbon helped rebuild London and founded the Fire Office, England's first property insurer. Beyond assuming liability for destroyed homes, it managed risk directly through private fire brigades, serving only properties displaying its metal fire mark. No mark, no rescue. Again, let's break that down. First, a home burns down. Then the insurer, not the owner, pays to rebuild it. The insurer has accepted the liability. And that's the whole idea behind liability insurance. You pay someone else to carry a risk for you. Now, case file 3, law. In the case of Donoghue and Stevenson, 1932. It starts with a Snail in August 1928 at a cafe in Scotland. May Donoghue is drinking ginger beer, and at the bottom of the opaque bottle, she finds what looks like a decomposing snail. She suffered shock and illness and sued the manufacturer. The sentence example reads, in the landmark case of Donoghue and Stevenson, 1932, Britain's highest court ruled that a manufacturer could bear legal liability for harm caused by its products. One bottle, a snail, and an entire branch of law was born: public liability and consumer rights. Now let's look at the second, broader meaning of liability: a person or thing that becomes a burden or a risk. 1912, Antarctica. Captain Scott's team reaches the South Pole, only to find Roald Amundsen got there first. Worse still, on the return journey, the entire party perishes. Sentence example. Recognizing that his severe frostbite was slowing the trek and exhausting their rations, Captain Oates chose to walk into the blizzard, rather than remain a fatal liability to his teammates. Here, the use of the adjective fatal before liability elevates the risk from just a troublesome burden to a matter of life and death. To round out your understanding of the word liability, here are some common synonyms. In a legal context, responsibility, obligation, accountability. In finance, simply a debt. For everyday conversation, a burden, a drawback, something that holds you back. Now here's the nuance that makes you sound like a native speaker. The company is responsible just means it has a duty, but the company is liable or has a liability means something stronger. It's legally responsible if things go wrong. Whenever money or blame is on the table, liability is the sharper, more professional choice of words. Finally, here are the phrases native speakers reach for. In finance, limited liability, tax liability. In insurance, liability insurance, liability claim. In the courtroom, legal liability, product liability. Learn these whole phrases and you'll sound fluent. So, a liability is a legal duty to pay when something goes wrong, and more broadly, anything that becomes a burden. From the Shareholders of 1855 to the fire insurers of London to a snail in a bottle of ginger beer, one word has shaped finance, insurance, and law for centuries. Additionally, as in describing Captain Oates, it adds power to everyday conversation. One last thing, I've put a resource I always recommend in the description below. Take a look and keep improving.